to Generation Dan, the only podcast where the only people who know what not to wear is everybody. I'm Atlas Novak. I'm your millennial. Who else is here?
I'm Dino, the genetic marvel. I'm your Gen Xer.
And Caleb got called into work because late stage capitalism. But our guest today, you've seen her on What Not to Wear, and she will be on the upcoming 2022 San Luis Obispo Comedy Festival. It's Amanda Cohen, everybody.
Hey.
What?
Was I supposed to say more than that? There's a lot of silence after that.
No.
You can do whatever
Hello,
you want.
Atlas. Hello, Dino. I was not specifically prepared to say hi or anything more than hi, but hi.
It wasn't that. I heard Dino like taking a breath. I'm like, oh, he's going to say something. And then he just...
No, it's... Yeah, no, my... sometimes I just sigh. I'm at that age where I just go... It drives my wife crazy, but I'm like, listen, I'm fat and I'm old, so I just run with it. You know,
You're not that old.
No, but I look like I'm 1,000 just because I'm too fat and I'm feeling like I'm aging faster. But you know, hey, whatever.
You look like somebody should be playing in the Hall of the Mountain King everywhere you go.
Seems fair.
Yeah. Do you know which song I'm talking about?
No, but it says Mountain King, and I'm like, I'm just going
I happen to love that.
Yeah. Specifically the first part of it where it's like played by like a tuba or a trombone, right?
Yes, excellently featured in the Disney movie Fantasia.
Oh, I forgot that. I love that movie.
Yeah, one of the only places in Disney you're going to see boobs.
Yeah. And then like in every 1990s movie where they're trying to show like disaster beginning, like every fucking movie, they just have that as the action gets more and more chaotic. The music speeds
but it's kind of a shortcut. It kind of means like we didn't really make a score for this. It's like when a preview uses Carmina Burana's O Fortuna, then you know they haven't actually written any music yet.
Yeah, or Ride of the Valkyries is another good one.
Exactly, yeah. It's all this very cinematic music that predates cinema that people just use in play. Well, no, Carmina Burana doesn't predate cinema, but please, it's like the music is so iconic. They're like, oh, we don't need real music. We're just going to use this existing music, and it'll fill in the spot where we'll eventually put music. But
it's the stock photos of music.
It's the stock photos of music, exactly. Yes.
Oh, I'm just realizing that watching Thor Ragnarok, that was, you know, just old music where I was like, oh, I know that feeling. That's exactly, and I just realized that is exactly the same thing. Oh, well, that just ruined my perspective. Thank you both.
A little bit different. Thor Ragnarok was intended to be a throwback to 80s movies, so they used a lot of 80s music, and the score was composed by Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo. So that was all very intentional. I'm talking about like previews where they haven't got a score yet, so they just play that bombastic Fortuna, Venut Luna, Stato Variabilis. Yeah, that.
You're a good singer.
Thank you. I did Carmina Burana when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
So I'll never forget that first movement. Yeah.
Oh man. That's
and then that silence. Okay.
No, come on.
I'm always jealous of people who started doing arts when they were young, because I was in finance for the longest time, and that was my focus. And I'm like, drama's stupid, and like now I do comedy. Yeah, no, but it's very because I learned to be a human being before I had my soul sucked out by comedy. So I'm like, yeah, that's good.
Man. What is this human being you speak of?
Yeah. I've been pretending for a very long time.
Yeah. Which also, that was a dig at me, wasn't it? Because I started as a literal child.
No. It's a compliment because it's so different to know. Like, I knew what I wanted to do. And then essentially I realized this just doesn't make me happy, and my happiness is more important than everything else because I'm a selfish prick.
But the flip side is you have money, right?
Yeah, but it's running out.
Yeah, but
And, you know,
It's running out.
I'm fat enough that I'm like, there's a good chance that I won't outlive my money. So I'm like, you know, it's
all you
like
have to do
here
is
for a good
outlive
time
your
versus a long
fat.
time.
As long as you
Yeah.
outlive your fat, you'll survive.
Yeah. So it's that's why I'm like, you know, that's fine. You know, but that's the weird thing is that the idea that something should bring you joy on a daily basis, I find is such a
Relatively new concept.
yeah,
It is,
but
definitely.
it's almost like we're rediscovering how good it was to have the wheel. Like people are like, "Ooh, the new multi-sided wheel." You're like, "No, no, 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 no. The wheel was good. The wheel was good. A work-life balance. That was a nice thing, you know? Being a
Yeah.
productive member of society does make you feel good. Like not great,
What's
but good."
saying about neo-capitalism, Atlas, is that for years that was the concept: is your job should bring you happiness, and your job is your life, and answer your phone all the time. Yeah,
I
But
do
then
not dream of
jobs
work. I'm sorry.
well, that's I do not dream of labor. You know, like that like, oh my God, people. I was raised to dream of what I want to spend my time on, and it wasn't me. What an asshole! Like, you know, it just seems so ludicrous. But
well, no, a lot of us were raised to make. See, I was very lucky. My parents were both artists, so they had for almost always done what they wanted to do. Now, to be fair, their work was also shaped by market demands. They would have loved to be fine artists, but instead they did production work. But it was a great, beautiful original production work. But still, making 100, plates rather than making fabulous sculptures. But
yeah,
they were still doing what they wanted to do.
yeah, and that's like that idea of rolling with kind of the cards you get, but at the same time being able to use that to enjoy your life. I'm like, that's not unreasonable. I'm like, look, man, people still need to eat. You need a roof over your head. Like there's sometimes you just got to do the job, right?
Well, yeah, but sometimes when that job only pays minimum wage, that's not fair.
Which, like, I remember making minimum wage because I was a waiter or I was working at a car parts store. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, I have zero expenses, zero responsibility. As soon as I had to pay for my own gas, I was like, hold on, what are you guys, crazy? But I was like, and I'm just like, that's not a real bill. That's a bill by choice, right? And ultimately you're going, yeah, that wasn't enough to cover it because, I was an idiot child. But still, it seems kind of ridiculous that people would focus and be like, oh, you shouldn't make that much for it. What? Why can't people just survive? Like, even I had this conversation with somebody where I go, so if somebody is getting an extra couple $100s a month because they've scammed the system somehow or whatever the case is, let's say this person, because of that, they should die or they should go into jail. Is that what you're saying? He goes, yes.
They should have to have 3 jobs and work 30 hours a week to survive. That's, you're just, it's like that whole flipping burgers thing. It's, flipping burgers is a reasonable job and should pay more than it does,
Yeah. And that's the worst part is you're like, a good job doesn't pay well. Neither does a really shit job. But both are still jobs. And you're like, this is the whole idea where I'm like, I love the idea where when someone is just honest, a genuinely just a 3 out of 5 stars. And I'm like, you know what? That's the existence I live. You know what? That's okay. Every once in a while, I get a 5. Yay! I celebrate it. But every day is like, oh, was it 5 stars? You're like, no, it's not 5 stars. You know why? Because it's Wednesday and it sucks. That's it.
It's like a thing where I think, especially in American society, people are afraid to dwell in the gray. Like my friend uses this term medium, and people are like, "Is that negative?" He's like, "No, it's medium. It's fine. It's in the middle. There's medium plus and medium minus and medium, and it's fine."
Is it like upper middle class and lower middle class?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's medium. It's just
like medium.
To describe a movie or a food or an experience. Like, that, Disneyland, because I was hungover, it was medium minus or whatever. Like, just the thing. I don't know.
There's Disneyland when you're dragging a bunch of, under 4-year-olds. And then there's Disneyland when you're single and have a lot of money. It's the same Disneyland, different experience.
Remember, kids, you put margarita ingredients in a Camelback because they never check those, and then over the course of the day, it just continues to be a margarita. Which I learned that the last time I went to Disneyland.
Is there no booze?
I don't. Here's the way
No
I
booze.
usually handle Disneyland: is I don't drink, so it's a lot more fun for me.
Yeah.
See, I don't normally drink, and I'm on day 29 of not smoking.
Cigarettes. Yeah.
Good for you.
It's horrible.
The last few times I went to Disneyland, it was with somebody who worked there, so I didn't have to pay to get in.
Nice.
Smart.
That's
the way to go to Disneyland. Yeah. I don't remember the last time I had to pay to go into Disneyland, and I wouldn't. I just wouldn't.
I feel like you really have to be you really have to want that, like you desire to. I feel like Disneyland, you can't just go, oh, let's just go check it out. You're like, no, I want to go. I'm bringing X amount of money. I want to try these things and that kind of stuff, which that seems like a lot of work.
The last time I went near Disney, I was working at a convention center in Anaheim for a week. Like where you live right on site. So I had some time to kill one night, and I went walking around, downtown Disney, not inside Disney, but just around Disney. And I remember seeing this display case where they were selling these tiaras, right? And they were like $59 for these little tiaras for kids. And I'm like, I know where to get. I'm looking at them like, I know where to get those exact tiaras for wholesale for like $7. Looking at that, I was like, okay, clearly there's something more at play here. There's some level of humanity that doesn't think I can just get that object. It's I have to get that object at Disney for my kid.
Yeah. I feel like the disappointment that we're experiencing in life, like right now, like during this time where it's like we have a pandemic and all these kind of crazy things happening, like that dream world of Disney becomes that much more important, like where people just get so.
But Disney isn't a dream world. It's just a bunch of lines and a bunch of expensive things. Like this, the idea of Disney is this magical land where there's no lines and just your family having a great time and everybody's catering to you. That doesn't exist unless you're rich enough to like buy out Disney.
Yeah.
The myth of Disney for the family is just, it doesn't exist.
And that's the weird thing is, like, I remember we used to drive down to Florida, my family and I, and we went 1 year, and out of the 5, there were 5 kids, and only 3 got to go on to Space Mountain, was the big one. Mm-hmm. The 2 young of us, but it was like my dad spent an arm and a leg getting us in to the place, and he was not happy. Like, he wasn't a happy guy in general, and like later on in life he learned to be happy, and I'm happy for him about. Mm-hmm. But like the whole day he was so angry because the amount of money he was paying, and it was like must have been like mid to late 80s when we went. Mm-hmm. And he was just so angry at the amount of money he had to pay for everything. Everything costs money, and you have 5 kids, 3 which are teenagers. It was not a good time for him. And he's like, I don't want to go on ride. I don't care about this place. Why are we doing this? And he's like, my mom's like, children. And he's like, oh, fine,
Freaking children.
Children with their no jobs, wanting stuff still. But, I get it. It's like, I feel like even now, my wife, she's like, oh, I really want to go. And I'm like,
why?
Okay. I'm like, that seems fine. I'm like, you're going to pay for it. I'm like, you have a job.
It's not really my bag either. I can appreciate the amount of effort that like went into it and how happy it makes people. It's not my thing, and that's okay.
Yeah,
some people get really weird though.
And I like pictures of it and little videos of it, but going there, I mean, there's a couple things I enjoy and wouldn't mind seeing, but I'm not going out of my way, and I'm certainly not spending like $198 or whatever it is to walk in there. It's just
it's nuts.
Okay, you remember when they introduced the Fast Pass concept? The don't wait in line thing. They did that in all the not just Disney, but
every theme park. Yeah.
I remember going to Six Flags Great America, which is outside Chicago, right after they had introduced the Fast Pass. And I walked in, it was about 11:30 in the morning, maybe like noon. And there was a woman sitting on this bench crying. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but are you okay? And she said she had 5 kids. She'd bought them all Fast Passes. They got there like whenever the park opened, like 10 or 11, and it was barely noon, and they were tired and ready to go home. And she was losing her shit because she'd spent all this money on the Fast Passes, so they wouldn't have to wait. And I guess in 2 hours they wanted everything they could handle and wanted to leave. And what do you do? It's like, no, you're gonna go on rides all day. You like
all day.
How
That's
old
exactly what I would do.
I'm wondering, because like I think like if she's got teenagers, I feel like they could stick it out for the rest of the day. But...
Yeah, I didn't see the kids. I just saw her crying alone on this bench. I guess the kids were on a ride or something, but
that is a horrible thing, right? Like
it's an adult theme park experience, sitting alone crying on a bench because you've lost all your money.
Yeah,
I know her heart is always broken. Whenever I see Fast Pass people, I always think of her, and it just crushes me.
I'm trying to
so bad.
I remember, like, as a kid, like when parents cry, it seems like they, outside of, oh my god, I just gave birth to my child and I'm so happy, or, I'm being reunited, whatever. Usually, when parents cry out of like frustration or anger or whatever, they'll like get away from the kid. They'll like, lock the bedroom door, or whatever.
Yeah, she probably wasn't going to cry in front of her kids, but she was not happy. Yeah. I suspect that the crying would have turned into anger when they all came back and went, okay, Mom, let's go home.
Yeah. And like,
that's terrible.
My mom would do that. I've never seen my dad cry, like literally ever. I've seen my dad pee his pants before seeing him cry.
That's a personal issue, Atlas. We'll discuss it at our next session.
Yeah. We have questions that we haven't even gotten to yet. So that first one.
Yeah,
all right, what's an embarrassing song on your playlist?
Well, it's not exactly on my playlist, but it is in my phone or in my. I paid for this song back when, first of all, when you would do such a thing. This is before Spotify and all that.
Yeah.
Because I used to be in a punk rock a cappella Glee club.
What?
And you heard me. I was in a punk rock a cappella Glee club called the Blue Ribbon Glee Club. You can look them up. We did punk songs a cappella, not terribly well. There was no music on paper or anything. We would just kind of listen to it a bunch of times and then figure out parts and divide and conquer. And it was really fun. And everyone was bringing in these cool songs. And I had this cool song that I thought was really neat and kind of punk and new, and that we should all learn it and it would be fun. And I brought it in. They were like, this was used in a commercial. It was like, okay, so clearly it was not cool enough. And that song is, it's by the Fratellis, and it's called, oh God, what the hell is it called?
Wait,
hang on. I have to actually look it up. I've forgotten that. I have blocked it. The name of the song is, wait a minute.
Chelsea Dagger?
No, it was so wait a minute. No, not everyone knows Chelsea Dagger, but it was nothing else.
Which is yet another song that they use in movies when they don't have like the right score.
Yeah, Flathead. Yeah, here it is. I found it and I can play it if you want.
No, that's okay.
Wait, I'm going to play just a little of it.
She feeds me well, and she made me talk dirty in a pink hotel. That one?
That's the one, yes. Yeah. I thought that was such a fun song.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, I got to.
That's okay. No problem.
I thought it was such a fun song, and it would be so fun to do as a Glee club, that like da 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 da. I can still do all the parts of it in the style of my Glee club.
Yeah.
But they were like very dismissive of that song, so I'm embarrassed.
Did they end up doing it, or
no? Of course not. They dismissed it outright.
Damn,
They
that
just
sucks.
missed a lot of things that I thought were important. It's one of the reasons I had to leave.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's wait. So Blue Ribbon, or Glee
Blue
Club?
Ribbon Glee Club.
Blue Ribbon Glee Club.
Yeah.
Go check them out. I'll put a link to it in,
I don't know. You know what? I
in the description if I remember.
Still active. I think they've blocked me from all social media. But
Let's see.
They were really fun. I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot of important punk songs as a result of it.
That's fun.
And yeah, I really enjoyed it. But we didn't. We just saw the world differently.
Holy hell!
Yeah,
they're all wearing like red sweaters, and then there's one guy in a biker outfit.
I don't think that's us. Red sweater. The weird thing is there's such an odd collection of their stuff out there that I'm not even sure what you're looking at.
The Blue Ribbon Glee Club is
they were very much into the whole DIY thing. Basically, they were like if hipsters had a chorus. It was very, very hipster. I was old for them, but yeah, they were like. I mean, on one hand, they were like, "Yeah, we're punk, we're DIY, money isn't important," which is one of the reasons I had to leave. Is I got us a money gig and nobody was interested, and it's like Jello Biafra himself came out in favor of artists getting paid.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever. I love the Blue Ribbon Glee Club. I don't know why you found a photo of them all wearing red. In fact,
sweaters. I
was the one who said, we need like blue sashes. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Oh, that's silly." And then I found us a bunch of really cheap blue sashes, and everybody loved them. And we used them for one show, and then everyone was like, "Yeah, we're over the blue sashes now." I'm like, "Oh, it's funny as hell."
I was in a band when I was in high school called Obvious Plagiarism because all we did were covers, and then we would wear other bands' T-shirts when we would play in concert.
Would you all wear the same T-shirt though?
No. Like one of us would be a Rush T-shirt, somebody be an Iron Maiden, somebody be an AC/DC, whatever. Like it didn't matter.
And then you would not cover the bands you were wearing, right?
No, we would.
So many missed opportunities here, Atlas.
There was one time where I wore a Plum Tree T-shirt after the Scott Pilgrim movie came out because he's wearing that in the movie. But that was about it, I think.
See, this is the thing we've talked about in comedy a lot: is that you can be a cover band and nobody will blink and you'll get hired for weddings, but you can't be a cover comic.
Yeah.
Comics do not get the respect
that they deserve.
Yeah.
There's also like
a band will do an album and everyone wants to hear that album. But if a comedian does an album, it's like, well, everyone's bought the album and they want to hear something new now.
Yeah.
It's it's the opposite. Bands are like, nobody wants to hear their new stuff. Play the old stuff. And comedians, no, what's new? We want to hear what's new.
Yeah. The only time that I've seen the play the old stuff is there's an old Patton Oswalt album where it's just uncut and you can hear the audience shout out this is a bit I want to hear. This is a bit I want to hear. And then he goes, okay, I'll do that one. And then, so I think that's the only time I've seen that. The rest is, after you do the album, you better throw out all your material and start over because otherwise.
I've heard that concept is actually outmoded. I don't entirely agree, but I've heard that that's not like you're throwing away your act the way it used to be. But it still feels that way. It feels like once you can just hear it or see it or whatever, why would you, want to come see me and see me do the same stuff? Because I'm not Patton Oswalt. That's why.
Yeah. Good point.
That's fair.
Yeah. I'll never be Patton Oswalt. I met Patton before he was Patton.
Yeah.
Have I told you the story, Alice?
No.
I was emceeing at a club in Virginia, and the feature was Patton Oswalt.
Okay.
The feature, not the headliner.
Yeah.
The feature. He was still living in San Francisco, basically unknown, but he was freaking magic. The headliner could barely follow him. I mean, maybe that's not fair. Maybe that's just, thinking bad. But he was so incredibly funny. And he was super sweet. And we talked about bands. And he sent me a mixtape. And it was just really nice. It was really
That's nice.
He was a real sweetheart, yeah.
I hope he's still like that now. He's my comedy hero.
I can't imagine he's not. He just seems like the nicest guy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't remember me to save his life, but he's really sweet.
So the next question is, let's see. I'm an adult. You can't stop me. What's an example of something you do that no one can stop you because you're a grown up? God damn it.
Well, there are things that I used to do that I had to stop because I'm a grown up.
Interesting. Continue.
Like eating an entire cake by myself.
Mm-hmm. It's a great pastime.
It really isn't. I mean,
know.
Don't get me wrong. No, I'm not disparaging cake, but I love cake. I mean, me and cake go way back. I mean, cake has always been there for me, and I've always been there for cake.
It has given you a short skirt and a long jacket. Kate has been there.
I happen to love that song, by the way.
It's a great song.
I love the band Cake too, but actually, I'm talking about cake with buttercream frosting.
Yeah.
And I love it. And there was a brief period in my life where it's like, I can afford a cake. I can just go buy.
I don't have to go to another shitty
I don't have
kid's
to go to
birthday
a party
party
or anything. I just go buy a cake. And here's the thing: at the time, I was working at a lot of birthday parties, and I would always be like, "Oh, no cake for me, thanks." And then on the way home, I'd buy a half a cake.
I don't need your garbage cake. I'm gonna get myself some fancy cake. That's fair.
Okay. Well, it's more like I don't need you to see me eat cake. I'm sweet and debonair, but
Someone pulls up to you in a parking lot with a whole cake in your hand, just going, "Huh? What?"
No, I would wait till I got home.
I wouldn't.
Cake in the parking lot. What kind of a fool? No,
I'll be honest.
I can't do that. So
no, but that's the thing is you really can't so during the pandemic, I started making jokes about how everyone else was getting fat and I was losing weight. So I lost 90 pounds and I'm trying to continue to lose.
Good for you. That's fantastic.
It's you know what? It's a thing. The problem is I'm so fat that I'm still fat. So it's like I've lost a small person, but I'm still fat. And I'm like, you know what? It's fine. It's my journey. It's,
You're down 90 pounds. That's not nothing. That's fantastic. I went on I won't say a diet because it was more like just changing my lifestyle. But I did that at the beginning of the pandemic. And I lost a bunch and I've gained some back. And it's, very frustrating. But you made the start and I made the start. We made the start. That's you. Atlas, what did you do during the pandemic, huh? You helped me?
He somehow he's on the other side.
No, I somehow maintained equilibrium. Like I'd lose 10, gain
you know
10,
what?
gain
Even
10, lose 10.
maintaining is amazing these days.
Yeah.
So but I can't eat a whole cake anymore. So that's the adult thing that I can do, have done, don't do anymore.
You say that thing about buying the whole cake on the way home. I've literally done this before. I'll go to a grocery store, buy an entire baguette, like the long ones.
Yes.
And eat the whole thing in the car.
Yeah.
In the parking lot.
In the parking lot.
In the parking lot.
Listen, if you really want to have a treat, you get some fresh baguette like that. Then you get like a kielbasa or some sort of good quality meat. Then some feta cheese, maybe some pickles. That is a meal fit for a king. You just sit there and just enjoy.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Not when you have meat hooks for hands, just ripping off pieces and eating it. Trust me, it's great.
See, I've
always
all
of the mountain king place.
Yeah. See, eating them all at once is like, why bother? Like, I'll just eat the baguette and then eat the kielbasa and then eat some feta cheese. I just never see the point of putting all the work into combining things. That's why I don't really cook a lot.
I am a Greek man. I will make food delicious. I cannot.
I'm not saying I can't cook. I'm just saying I'm not in favor of it.
I understand that, but that's not unreasonable. It's a question of I feel like the best thing about growing up is learning what is worth your time and what is not worth your time, right?
This is not worth my time.
That's not. I can't question that decision. I'll be honest.
That's a good point.
No, but that's the thing is it's an experience. You're saying, listen, a good experience is a good experience in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
But it's something you kind of learn over time. Shall we move on to the next question, Atlas?
Yes.
All right. What do you mean I'm an adult? So the first time where you were caught into a situation, you were going, "Oh, I'm the responsible one in this situation." That is not what I expected, kind of thing.
I think that was when I had to start paying for my own health insurance out of college. This whole Obamacare thing of being on your parents' insurance till you're 26.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that didn't happen until that was just a few years ago, and I was
That's true.
well into the adulthood at that point. But yeah, when I realized I had to pay my own health insurance, car insurance,
Mm-hmm.
everything, I'm like, oh hell, I'm a grown up now. I wasn't in favor of it, but yeah, that's when I realized that this college job thing that was barely, keeping pizza on the table, was not like a real job. Yeah, because my first job out of college was basically minimum wage, and but it was like a career thing. I was working at a radio station.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I still have nightmares about working in radio.
Really?
Literally last night I had another radio nightmare. It's very, very strange thing. But yeah, it's like, and because I was hired out of an internship before I graduated college, but the pay was so low. If I told you what it was now, you would like, how are you alive?
Well, now you have to, right?
During the internship, I was getting paid $4.50 an hour.
And this is when?
This is 1990,
Yeah.
before the turn of the century.
Okay.
And then when they hired me proper after the internship, they bumped me up to $6 an hour.
Yep.
So, yeah.
You'll excuse me, I'm going to jump out this here window.
But the thing is, and I've told these stories before, I won't get into details, but this was at a very male-centric news radio station, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the stuff the guys did literally every day today would get them fired immediately.
100%.
Stuff they would say, stuff they would do. I mean, I was moved from the newsroom to producing the morning show, the morning drive.
Oh,
no.
That is going to be different.
No. It was not, believe me, whatever you're thinking, that's not what it was. I was the producer. I wasn't on the air.
No.
Okay. But like, you're still around those people.
I'm still around those people. And at one point, I'm in the newsroom, and one of the news guys says, "You know why you got that job, right?" John said, "Get me the one with the boobs."
Oh.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where you can just not tell them that. It's fine.
It's not. No, that's a stupid thing to like.
Yeah.
That's those kind of changes that I'm like, you know what? It's about time. Yeah. It's about time because people make stupid comments like that, and you're going, "You're just an asshole." Like, this, you can't do that.
It didn't bother me personally. No. But when I think of all the women who changed their lives or personas or work because of that, because they couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything. You just kind of go, I'm working here. That was all you could do. So yeah, when I hear girls say, "I don't believe in feminism," it's like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You just don't. You weren't there. You don't remember what it was really like. We haven't always been woke.
I think there's a lot of people who still aren't, sadly. But
that's true. This is true. But the sad thing is that there's people who were born into a woke world, a woker world, who still don't think it applies to them. It's like they don't do anything to preserve it because they don't realize how important it was. That's how I feel about exercise and diet. It's like you have to realize how good you have it so you can preserve it.
Yeah.
When I was 30, I thought I'd be 30 forever. 127 pounds, not me. So yeah. So I never got into the habit of exercising or eating right because I didn't need to at the time. I didn't know.
I haven't seen 127 pounds since grade 5, so thank you for that.
In college, I was like that, and I thought I was fat. I really did.
God.
I thought I was because I didn't know. So it's like it's true. It's like you don't know until you don't know. You didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You didn't know. I don't know what I know. What do I know? What do you know? What do you know? What do you know?
I have to trick myself into exercising. That's how I've been doing it. It'll be the kind of thing.
How do you trick yourself?
So it'll be like, I want to go get a burger. And then, so obviously unhealthy thing. But if I go, we're going to walk to get the burger, and then I come back and my body's like, why are we sweaty? I'm like, because we walked there. They're like, but we went to go get a burger. I'm like, yeah, this is like breaking even. They're like, shit.
Yeah.
Or like, I can walk to work now. That's what I do. Or like, I have to get to work, right? Walking there gets me to work, and then by the time I'm there, I'm like, oh man, I worked out. That's how I have to get my exercise. Or like my mom, she had these stone pavers in her backyard, and she had them like picked up, and she's like, I want to put them in little piles so I can put decorations on them. So I had to play medieval stonemason for her. Where do you want these, my lord? And so I had to do that, and then she got what she wanted, and then I got exercise out of it by accident, right? But I did it because I love my mom, not because of the exercise.
Oh no, I still do things when I go home. I always have to do things for mom. I want to, I want to rake and carry in the logs and everything. It's because it's mom. Yeah.
You're from Chicago, right? Is that?
I'm originally from Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Okay.
Yeah. So when I go home, it was like stacking wood and stuff like that.
My parents both live in LA, so it's like they can just be like, "Hey, you want to come on over to Santa Monica? I'll make you a home cooked meal. You got to do a bunch of shit for me. Yeah. Come on over."
It's worth it.
Oh, I remember those kind of conversations with my parents. Like, hey, so what are you doing today? And I'm like, oh, I'm in Toronto. So, yeah. And, but my dad would always be like, hey, I got a 5-minute job. And I'm like, number one, it's never in the history
in and out,
20-minute
adventure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's a 7-hour job. Yeah. Probably going to be next day, too. He's like, okay, so I got one that go, no. Sorry. I'm no longer a child. I have plans. If you let me know at the beginning of the week, I can set aside. It goes, well, it's going to take 5 minutes. I'm like, no, it's not. You know you're lying. I know you're lying. Let's just not lie. Let's not pretend, because you know what? If we schedule it, he goes, well, I can't do it next week. Great. Tell me when, and we'll just do that. And I fought, because I'm the youngest of 5. And I'm like, every other sibling never bothered fighting, or realistically, they tried and lost. So by the time it was my turn, my parents were old and tired. And I'm like, now that you're weak, I'll win. And sure enough, I was like, hey, let's just have a conversation. So my relationship was different than theirs, but yeah, I still did the same shit where I'm like, all right, what do you need done? They're like, can you move an entire couch? And I'm like, I hate being the biggest child you have, because I can do that.
Hey, I'm gonna need you to get gamma radiation exposure for me so you can become the Hulk and then move this entire house.
I would do that for my mom. Yeah. I would totally be. If my mom said, get gamma radiation so you can move this house, I would, because I love my mom. What's wrong with you two?
Hey, there's loving your mom and then dying for your mom. Yeah. You're going, hey, maybe we could not die together.
The only reason I wouldn't die for my mom is because it would break her heart. But I can't think of much I wouldn't do for my mom. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love both of my parents. But I've gotten older and I can't do all the things they want me to do anymore.
That's true. That's very true.
Like I used to, carry the wood. Every time I move something or pick something up, my mom's like, "Oh, you're so strong." It's like, because I'm 32 years younger than you, Mom. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, even I'm reaching my limits. And in my brother, who's only 2 years younger, it's like, yeah, get Josh to do it. He can handle it.
There's like the thing where your parents kind of will always kind of assume that you're like young and hip. Because like my mom has done that a couple of times where she's like, you kids keep me young. And up to date with the lingo. I'm like, Mom, we're 28 and 31. Like,
you could be Atlas. You could be one of my kids if
that's true. You could,
but you're young enough to be one of my kids. You keep me hip and young.
Yeah, but it's like that pipeline is rusting. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna go before you know it. Like, I've already not been able to do TikTok. Like, I had my first
I've done TikTok, but I don't get it. I mean, I get it, but I don't feel like the need to fill it up with garbage. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, I get what it is because I was around for Vine, which I also didn't really do, but I knew what it was and stuff. And it's, I'm too tired for that shit. And
my biggest problem with TikTok.
I like the orange ones. The orange ones are good. Yeah.
My biggest problem with TikTok is that they've normalized landscape video recording.
Oh yeah, that's the
I mean,
worst.
I'm sorry, not landscape, portrait. They've normalized portrait video recording. That's just wrong. That's against God's plan.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all.
No, that's fair. You know what? It is just weird though, and I'm like, I feel weird. Just people are like, "Oh, you just scroll through." I'm like, that makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, this is not. It's weird. I'm like, these are children. I don't. No thanks.
Well, there's one. I don't. It's actually not a TikTok feed. It's an Instagram feed, I think. But it is, in my opinion, it's like when people say, "Oh, I can't stop scrolling." This is the one exception to that rule. That like I don't understand. Can't keep scrolling, but there's one Instagram site that oh God, what is kids getting hurt?
Yeah.
Is that there's like a subreddit for it, like children falling over, right?
Yeah, but kids getting hurt is the original Instagram feed, and it's just videos of kids getting really
eating it.
Yeah. And usually there's like a little, when dad says he's okay or whatever, but kids just eating it. And
it's so good. Oh yeah.
One of my favorite ones I've ever seen is it's like a little 2-3-year-old girl, and it's like it's snowed recently, and there's a big pile on her back deck or whatever, and she's walking with the shovel, and the shovel just kind of goes over the pile, and she's still pushing it, and then she hits the wall, and then the shovel goes back into her stomach and just knocks her off. And it's like, so perfect.
See, I used to love America's Funniest Home Videos.
Oh
yeah. R.I.P. Bob Saget.
R.I.P. Bob Saget. Some of the stuff he got to say on that show, people do not realize. People don't realize he was a filthy comic. Everyone thinks, sweet old TV guy, but he was filthy. And once in a while, he got away with certain lines on the show. Two of them in particular, I will never forget. Bob Saget, rest in peace. I remember these lines. One of them was they were showing clips about Halloween, and he goes, one year I went naked on roller skates, and one is a pull toy.
Oh, dude.
And the other one was, let's cut through the curly grass and get right to the maypole.
Bob.
I loved you so much, Bob.
Apparently on Full House, he got in trouble like multiple times for saying inappropriate jokes to the kids, like between takes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's never dude, I was raised on Frank Zappa and Firesign Theater. I don't think there is an age where it's too young. Yeah, there were jokes I didn't get. And then like when I was a tween, I remember people making inappropriate jokes at me and thinking, well, that was inappropriate, but not being offended by it, but just thinking, you really shouldn't be telling me those jokes.
Yeah.
But not like, it didn't ruin my life. So yeah, if he was educating, those kids were already ruined. They were child stars. Their lives were over. It doesn't matter.
It's completely accurate, but also hilarious. Where it's like they were already finished. It didn't matter. They had more than enough PTSD through that experience.
Name one child actor on that show who grew up to be almost human.
No, that's just John Stamos. John Stamos,
not a child star.
Only because he's Greek.
Stamos has not aged.
I know.
That's true.
He made a deal with the devil, and it was totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Stamos is perfection.
That's also true. Also Greek. Huh.
Who would have thunk it?
Just saying. John
Absolutely.
Stamos. Yeah.
Yeah, that's completely accurate.
He was, oddly enough, the least creepy of them.
Yeah.
Isn't that messed up? Like, this is the one thing that I've started to see is where somebody's like saying something and you're like, hey, just stop. Just please stop. You're like, you're making me uncomfortable. I remember I was at an open mic years ago, and one guy, he kind of just kept brushing this girl's arm, and I just grabbed his hand. I'm like, can you stop doing that? And she just looked at me. She's like, thanks. And I'm like, no, just weird, man. Keep your hands to yourself. That's it. Yeah. You don't know this person. You know, like, why are you being weird?
Was the woman a comic?
No, she was an audience member, and I think she had too much to drink. And I was just like, hey, yeah, just stop touching. Because I could see her face where she's like, oh, you're touching me a lot. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I just grabbed his hand. Well, I'm 6'2", And back then I was about 450 pounds. And I'm like, yeah, no, I could just grab you and put you in my pocket and walk away. Like, that's for adult men. And I'm like, yeah, no.
Honestly, guys need to do that whenever, when they see people, comics, whatever, being that way to other women. A lot of women don't say anything because we've been raised to just like ignore it, he'll go away. Or if you say anything, they'll get angry and hit you, which has happened to more people than I care to think about. Mm-hmm. So, when people, why didn't you fight back? Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't I say something when the guy in the newsroom said, John said, get me the one with the boobs?
Boobs, yeah.
Because you don't. Because, worst case scenario, you get hurt. Best case scenario, you're labeled a whiny B word.
Yeah.
So
curse. Uh-huh. You can curse on here. It's fine.
You get labeled a whiny bitch.
Hey, yeah.
Which is why so many women in comedy don't say anything. But secretly, we have a list of guys that we say don't work with this guy because he's known to be dangerous. The fact that we have to keep it all in the DL is bullshit. So if you see that happening, please, and I say this to all guys watching the show, both of you, when you see a guy being a dick to women, comedy or otherwise, say, hey man, quit it.
Yeah.
I usually just make fun of them in front of the girl and then they run away. Yeah. That's my usual, because I'm like, I'm too, like, this is the problem, is like, I do a bit about how if somebody accused me of eating a baby, the cops, I'd have to prove my innocence. Because people be like, yeah, you look like you've eaten a baby before. Because I'm huge. And I'm like, it's funny, but at the same time, I'm like, I will lean into that. So if somebody starts acting making people uncomfortable, I'm just going, why do you have a heart on? Just watch them go, what? What are you talking about? I'm just like, that's weird. We were talking about onions, man. That's a weird thing to do. You should cover up, because
more guys need to do that.
Well, that's realistically, like, it's the same thing where I'm like, I can't freak out in a mall. Why? Because I won't. Like, people won't say, "Hey, calm down, sir." I get shot in the face. That's what happens. Exactly. So I'm like, that's why I just go. I'll just use my words, or I've stood in the way between two comics who were fighting, and I'm just like, "Hey," I just stand in the way, and I'm like, "Listen, I make a great brick wall. Hello." I'm like, no one's touching anyone, And that's once I went like this, I go, "Oh, excuse me." Looking at the comic, I go, "Hold on," and then I just turned around and blocked them out of the conversation. I'm like, "Hey, miss, are you okay?" And she's like, thank you for that. I'm like, yeah, no problem. This makes me uncomfortable, so I'm going to leave, but you can run now.
Have you considered being a bouncer?
I don't think that that's a good use of my time, just for the simple fact that I might enjoy it. It's just, because I really hate dumb people. They just...
It wouldn't last 5 minutes. Yeah.
No, and that's why I'm like, this is... I joke about it where I'm like, listen, I've made people piss their pants before because I just look like Cro-Magnon man, and I'll just go, and people go, oh no. Right?
Oh, you don't have the brow ridge of a Cro-Magnon.
Oh no. Now I have like 7 different white lights on me, so I look okay, but turn them off, and all of a sudden I just kind of
go like that.
Yeah.
Dino no approve of bullying women. Get out of club. I have club.
I remember one guy, we were hanging out at an after hours bar. We had a show and we were drinking inside, but the lights were off and everything was cool. And then I said, hey man, listen, you've had too much to drink. You should walk home. And he goes, oh, I was going to hang out a little bit more. I go, hey, no, it's time to go. And he goes, and I just grabbed his hand. And the funny thing is he's about 2 inches taller than me, but he's a beanpole. I just grab his hand and I just start walking. And he plants both his feet. He's grabbing other people. And I'm just dragging him. I'm just like, dum, 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 dum. Yeah. And he's like, please let me stay. And I pull him outside and I'm going, hey, listen, you shouldn't. This is for your own good. You should go home. And he goes, oh, you're never any fun. And I'm like, I probably saved your life. Interestingly enough, things went sour after he left. And I'm like, listen, man, just trust me. Sometimes you just got to go. And I'm like, other people just don't want to listen. Like, I was at one club and a girl was like, hey, can I molest you for a second? I'm like, please, no, I'm married. Don't touch me. And she just started putting her hands over her shirt. I'm like, can you please stop touching me? Please stop. And then another girl was like, hey, you can't do that to people. And I'm like, I'm a married man. This is making me very uncomfortable. Please stop. I'm like, if you don't stop, I will just grab your entire face and just move you back. I'm like, I'm like, sorry, not okay. And she was like, what? You don't want that? And I'm like, no. I actually love my wife. The fact that I have a wife is surprising enough. I'd like to keep her. So, yeah.
It's a good way to be.
Very strange. I mean, and on behalf of women, she wasn't one of ours.
Hey man, you know what?
That's
Drunk people do drunk things, and I'm like, that's okay. I just like to use my words, and I go, hey. I grab on someone's hand if they're touching me. I go, hey, I don't like you touching me. And if they try and keep touching me, I just start squeezing and go, no, no, no. That's the opposite of what Dino likes. And let's do what Dino likes. Keep the ogre happy.
So you're basically pulling a Lenny from Of Mice and Men. Just
yeah. Well, I pride myself on my grips. Like I have ridiculously large hands, right? So it's
you do.
It's one of those things where I
squeeze me, daddy.
Well, there were.
I just see you palming somebody by the head and going, whoop.
Like a basketball.
I do their entire chest, so my hand will go like from nipple to nipple, like it's like 9 keys on a piano. Like I'll just go, huh? I go, hey, this is a bad idea, and then I'll just start moving, and they just kind of going, oh my god. I'm like, yeah, no, man, it's not. And actually, the funny thing is, now that I've lost the 90 pounds, I'm like, I can touch my feet, like so I can just lean over, touch your toes, which is surprising. But I'm like, so I'm still gigantic, but it's fun. So much fun.
Smash.
Yeah.
He doesn't need gamma radiation to move a house. He just can't.
Yeah.
I just fall asleep on it and eventually it rolls over.
Oh God.
You guys are fun.
Thank you.
Oh no, you've been great conversationalist. Thank you so much,
Amanda. This has been fun. You guys want to hear about a racist phone call I got at work?
Oh, so
always.
All right. So I work doing medical records for a doctor, and this guy calls, and he through the phone call it was pretty normal. Hey, I'm this patient. I want my records sent over to this new doctor that I'm seeing. I'm like, great, I will take care of that. Blah blah blah. End of the phone call. He goes, by the way, I was wondering, are you Anglo-Saxon?
That never ends well.
Are you from that general region of Europe? Why? What does that matter? Like, so like I have to like vaguely be a professional, right? I go, I don't see that as pertinent to this conversation.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, and he goes, well, if you are learning English, you're very good at it, and then hangs up the phone.
Well, that's actually not the worst.
Okay, here's my problem with it. English is my only language, which means I sucked bad enough for him to think I was learning it as a second language. Basically, he said you kind of sound white, but not really. That was that phone call.
Possibly. See, the way he probably spent a lot of time with technical support. And was guys with very deep accents calling, who were definitely not Anglo in any way, referring to themselves by a name that was definitely not them, trying to pass as native English speakers. And he just was so unused to speaking with the person on the phone who spoke English as a first language that maybe he just didn't believe that you were someone who spoke English as a first language. So
that a
compliment?
Maybe okay. Whether
just
or not
assume the guy was intensely racist and trying to do better.
Yeah, he was trying to do better, but
to me that was like a step forward from probably where he used to be.
That was the anti-racist equivalent of racism. Yeah, like it just.
I used to have a problem with you faggots, but now.
Holy shit, Amanda!
You tried.
No, listen. This is the thing, though, is that in all honesty, I agree with Amanda in that. Hey, man, that guy's trying to say something nice and he doesn't know how, but he's giving it his best. And like at the same time, it's fucked, right?
Yeah, but it was just the kind of thing where I hung up the phone. I was like.
Well, this is the thing, though. And Amanda, maybe you have seen this kind of stuff. So my father's name was Basil, okay, which in Greek is Vasili. He came to Canada and he said, "My name is Basil." He went to introduce himself, says Basil, and they go, "What?" He goes, "Basil." "What?" "Basil." They go, "What?" He says, "Bill." They're like, "Oh, Bill," and forever he was known as Bill. So you know what? It's uncomfortable that those people, like a lot of people, had to make those changes in their daily life. Where I'm like, look, my real name is not Dino. It's Constantine. I've tried to go by Constantine for 15 minutes. I thought I was having a stroke. I didn't know who I was or what was happening. Like, it freaked me right the fuck out. Right. And that was demanded of people. So listen, now that it's not, the guy was trying to give you a compliment for your grasp of the English language.
The more frustrating part is like I don't have a second language. That's my language. That's all I got. I got a few words in ASL and 2 years of French I don't remember.
But I don't think that was about you, though. I think
know
that
it's
was
not.
more about the guy having only spoken to people not from the United States, or Canada.
Okay, our practice doesn't use foreign call centers, though. It's just people.
But a lot of practices do. Right.
Okay, good point.
But it had nothing to do with you or your company. It's just every other place he'd had to call that day had someone who didn't speak English as a first language, and he was delighted to have that, or not even delighted, just incredulous to find that wasn't the case with you.
But it's just like the guy who said, "Get the girl with the boobs." Like you could have just said nothing. Thanks, bye.
Well,
but he's way better than that.
I didn't say anything. That's the point.
No, not you. Them. They could have said.
He could have said nothing. That's never going to happen.
Also true.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for somebody who would guaranteed not say nothing, what he did say was not horrible.
Was better than things he could have said.
It's like 7 negatives. I think that makes it. I don't know. Yeah. Something happened there. The words make sense.
It's not medium.
Even number of negatives, it comes out positive.
Maybe.
At this point, who knows?
God, he didn't not say nothing that wasn't mean.
Sure.
That seems right. That seems, yeah. That's
6, so it comes back to around the positive.
Yeah, if it's an even number, it's...
So great. Are you Anglo-Saxon?
A double negative makes it positive, so any even number will make a positive.
Okay,
The math works.
Are you Anglo-Saxon?
Do
you hail from the north?
Speak you England's tongue.
You know what? It's funny how people will grasp onto certain things as their identity, though, right? Like, so I have my one brother has very, very dark skin to the point where he's from Southeast Asia. And we've gone, like, I remember when we were in our youth and we would go to other schools for nefarious purposes, people would accuse him of not knowing his mother tongue. And it was like, what? And like, yeah, it got that heinous where people just made assumptions of who he was and everything. And it's a weird thing, right? So at least that guy's trying to say not bad things with his quasi backhanded compliment of appreciation for your grasp of the English language.
That I am.
I'm going to say take the win, Atlas.
Yeah, no, I took the win, but now I'm telling it on a podcast because he's not here anymore.
True.
So, yeah. But it's definitely living in your head for free. That's for sure. Yeah. It's going to for a while.
This happened like a month ago. I just randomly popped into my head because of the girl with the boobs thing. That's it. So no, it's not living in my head rent free. It's in a box in the basement that happened to get kicked up during spring cleaning.
You still own the basement. You could clear out
Touche.
Yeah.
That could have been a Stairmaster, sir, but you chose to put a box.
Box of anger.
Dino, a Stairmaster would involve me having to exercise on purpose, and we both know
that's never going to happen.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. I got to trick myself into it.
Hey, man.
Amanda, thank you so much for coming on Generation Dan with us.
Thank you for having me. Was there another question? I could have sworn there was another question.
There's one more that we're going to ask you, but first, would you like to plug yourself?
Excuse you. I would very much like to plug myself. Yeah. But first, I'm going to tell you what shows I have coming up.
Yeah, like where people can find you and stuff.
Yeah. So what day is it today? It's 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, yes. 3 weeks ago. Today's the 22nd. Yeah.
So February 25th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, somewhere in and around there, I'm going to be in San Luis Obispo at the Slow Comedy Fest.
Yes.
That's going to be really fun, and that's at slocomedyfest.com, I think. I'm not even. And so that's happening. And then after that, I'm going to be in Massachusetts. How's your Massachusetts following?
I'm not sure. Hopefully, it just says the countries.
Okay, well, on March 3rd, I'm doing a show in Dalton, Massachusetts.
Awesome.
On March 9th, I'm doing a show in Hartford. And let's just do this the easy way and say, hey, my website is amandacomedy.com. And you can find me there. And my AmandaComedy.com. It's got all my dates there. Click on comedy, click on shows, and you'll see a long list of stuff you can sit through that I'm in.
Awesome.
Right on.
And we're gonna have links in the
That'll be in the
description
show
as well.
notes and the description and all that good stuff.
And I'm on the Facebooks and the Twits and the whatever. Yeah.
That'll also be down there.
I'm on the TikTok, but there's not much going on there.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm just doing something. I'm like, let's see what happens. I don't know.
And Dino, how about you?
If you see me here, this is where you can find me a lot of the time. Dino the Genetic Marvel. It's all over Facebook, Instagram, things like that. I also have the DNT Network where I do a couple more podcasts. One on sports adjacent topics. It's very entertaining. Like, hey, it's March Madness. Let's talk about their mascots. Things like that.
Yeah.
Because
that's not the most exciting thing to me.
Well, you know what? Listen, I'm not running any touchdowns or making any home runs at this age. Okay,
if
anything,
guys in worse shape than you are way into sports.
I feel like you would be good at a good offensive lineman.
Maybe. Well, yeah, but like not if I had to move forward. More so if I just had to stand there and not let anyone through. That I can do. Like I make a great brick wall.
You said yourself you make a good wall.
I do.
Dino the Genetic Marvel, the Maginot line of football players.
So it's not short for Dionysus? I'm so disappointed.
No. Maybe in my youth, but not anymore. No.
So wait, your real name is Constantine.
Yes. That's right. So
you
in
could
Greek,
have by Connie.
So I've had only, you are the second person in my entire life who has made that comment. And I said, absolutely the fuck not. Because she was like, oh, Connie. And I'm like, whoa, number one, that's the no-go. That's a hard no. Let's just, and I was like mid conversation with somebody else and they said it and I was like, huh? No. That's never going to happen. Because but it's
one of my favorite Marvel characters.
He's a fantastic character.
He's such a dick, but I love him.
He's a complete bastard. And you're like, but like with a heart of quasi gold, fool's gold, maybe. I like it.
He's kind of based on Ian Dury, I think. It's just me. He's very punk.
Yes.
Is it just me?
No. There's so many influences that cross over between comics and literature and music and just attitudes and stuff. And you're going, there's that only makes sense. It's going to be somewhere, right? It's
you're always going to be funny to me.
He's Connie now.
You know what?
Connie forever. Dino, you now have one of those nicknames you can pop up on the bottom that you did for.
I'm in control of nicknames, and it's not going to happen.
Son of a bitch. All right. Well. You can find me at Atlas Novak on Twitter or Instagram. You can also find my other podcast at Nexus at Night in the same places. That's about a trading card game, and that's completely fine. And then you can follow the show at Generation Dan on Twitter. We post highlights of the show, so if you want little minute-long clips of stuff.
Is this going to make a highlight?
Not necessarily.
It is now.
It is now, yeah. And then, that was about it. So now for this last question. Dino, if you please. What is your most memorable set, weird, good, bad, or otherwise?
Wow. Okay. Weird, good, bad, or otherwise. You want one of each?
Not necessarily.
Whatever pops into your head.
Yeah.
One time I did a show. It was December 30th. So it was like not quite New Year's Eve, but the night before. Mm-hmm. Some promoter had rented out a theater that sat about 1,200, and they sold about 50 tickets. Wow. And it was an 18 and over metal show, heavy metal. Yeah, and they wanted comedians to go between the acts when they were switching out the gear. And they told us, there'll be a curtain. And, they'll change the gear, open the curtain, and then do the thing. You'll be in front of the curtain. Okay, great. Except there was no curtain. And they hadn't told the kids there would be anything between the music. So they were not having it. And about 5 minutes before the show, the promoter said, you can't swear on that stage. Those are kids. This isn't HBO. Meanwhile, the metal bands were like, fuck, devil, bitch, fucking bitch. But we were like... So, how about that Madonna, huh? So, they threw stuff at us.
Oh, man.
So that was memorable, but not good.
That's really funny. That's
Yeah. No, I'll never forget it. You know, everyone's got a couple of hell gigs. So that's probably my most memorable. And this was in the before time. This is literally before the turn of the century. Again, all my fun stories are from the 90s. Make of that what you will.
90s was a fun decade, apparently.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. It wasn't. Well, I didn't know anything about what I was doing, but damn it, I was doing it.
That's fair. That's an achievement, I think. That's the generation of let's fuck around and figure it out.
Fuck around and find out. That was like the entire first half of my career was fuck around and find out. Yeah.
I feel like there's not enough stories like that we share because people realize that you're going, hey, you know what? Yeah, none of us really know what we're doing. We're just trying to figure it out, and not, murder along the way. Some of us unsuccessfly, but
in my opinion, all the best stories were something where you learned not to do that again.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I did it once, and now I can say I did it. I don't have to do it again. And to me, that's all my best experiences are like that.
Like college, the best experience you never want to have again. That's
everything I got out of college was basically like everything but classes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the classes were good, and my major is kind of useful and all that, but like I got to work at the college radio station. I wrote for the college paper. All the stuff I ended up doing in life is stuff I did at college.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the classes, by the way, one of my classmates was, oh no, I'm blanking on his name. Super famous Broadway guy, Kinky Boots, that guy.
Kinky Boots.
Oh, no.
There's going to be the one listener who's like, I know what the fuck it is.
That guy. Oh no! I should be fired. Right in the ending of the show, I'm forgetting his name.
When I hear super famous Broadway guy, I think Lin-Manuel Miranda, but that's not it. It's
Andrew Lloyd Webber. No.
Steven Sondheim. Wait.
I don't know. I'm pretending that I'm trying to recollect, and I have no idea. I'll be honest. That's not.
Well,
I don't know.
Whatever it is.
The guy, oh my god, he was a freaking classmate. I'm going to be fired right now. He was at the Oscars in a freaking ball gown and tux.
Do you know who it is?
What do you mean?
What?
What do you mean?
Do you know who the guy is?
What guy?
From Kinky Boots.
Yeah. Oh no!
Who is it?
I can't believe this. Why am I forgetting? I'm blanking on his
son
name.
of a bitch.
Who?
Wait, okay. Stop the video. I gotta look this up now.
No,
no.
We'll cut it. That's fine. We can't really stop it.
Okay. Well, hang on a second. Hang on. Oh my god.
I don't know.
Firestein.
No.
No, Harvey Firestein wrote the original book. That's
Billy Porter.
Who? Say it again.
Billy Porter.
Billy Porter. Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now this is a pickup. Here's a pickup.
No problem.
You know who I went to college with?
Who?
Billy Porter.
No shit.
Billy Porter. I was in some classes where they mixed acting people and writing people so we could write stuff and the actors would do it. Billy Porter was in one of those classes.
Damn.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
That's my lame claim to fame. I know Billy. You wouldn't remember me, but I know I met Billy Porter, and he was cool in college too.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to Generation Dan. Go check out Amanda on the San Luis Obispo Comedy Festival, or if you're out east, then go to, what was the city again? It was
doing one show in Dalton, Mass, and another one in Hartford, Connecticut at the Funny Bone. But hey, just go to amandacomedy.com and it's all there.
amandacomedy.com. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks for having me, guys.